growing up, school and education was highly valued. So my parents had very high expectations for my sister and I, and we were very capable of that. There was every reason to have those expectations. And so I really can't ever say like when I decided to be a teacher, but I do know that it was highly valued in my home. My mom was my calculus tutor. So, I mean, right there, that tells you that, you know, my parents were not teachers, but they were teachers. Like my dad was a baseball coach, and he is a very gifted teacher at church. It just kind of looked back and it kind of came naturally, but then I was surrounded by just incredible teachers and coaches my entire life. And so I feel like it just kind of was like, well, this is what great people in my life have done. So, okay, I think I can do that. I've been a teacher for 19 years. I've done 9 years at the elementary, 10 years at the high school level. I really never thought that I would be a high school teacher, and now I absolutely love it. It's the relationship. So it's being able to come into a classroom and work really hard those first few months and realize that we have things in common, you know, the kids and I, and that we're human beings. You know, teacher, student, but we're human beings. And so being able to build that relationship and have, you know, those adult conversations, you know, is the way to go. I absolutely love coming to work every day because I, you know that I'll get to just talk with my kids, and, you know, we try to start off really relaxed and we'll get down to business, but, you know that I care about them first as a human being and a person, and like they need to learn skills to be a good adult, a productive adult. And so I feel like those are the most important things that I can teach them. So yes, math and curriculum, it happens, but like, okay, if we need to spend a little bit more time on other skills, then let's do that. What is the goal of my class? Well, I can tell kids, yeah, I want you to pass my class. You need the credit. You know, you need a certain end of course exam in my class. I'm an Algebra 1 teacher, so they have to take their Algebra 1 EOC, you know, but really what I want them to learn are problem solving skills. So I want them to be able to know, okay, if I have a math problem that I don't know how to solve, because we have those in real life, you know, what am I going to go to? You know, I'm going to pull out my calculator on my phone, or, you know, maybe it is something that I can ask Siri about, but it's really being able to problem solve and step myself through things. And so hopefully those are the skills, some of the skills that they'll walk away knowing.
Both my mom and dad were in education for combined 60 plus years. And then my grandparents were both in education as well. And so it was in my blood, but I didn't want to accept it. I wanted to try to do something different, but you know, when it's a calling, and it was time to try it out. So this is my 6th year within the classroom, 7th year within education. I think the biggest thing that I learned from my grandparents and my parents being in education is I wanted to work with people, seeing their hard work and reflecting with them and having conversations around the dinner table. I knew that they were creating change within a school system. Growing up in a household that really put a servant attitude first, that was something that was in our foundation, and I wanted to make sure to live up to that. And so putting 2 and 2 together, it just made sense that, you know, working with people and creating change, I mean, the best way to do it is within a school and kind of helping these young minds change the world when it becomes their turn. And that was one of the hardest things when it came to our shutdown during COVID. I just felt like I wasn't doing enough for my students. Being present and being in the classroom is truly where I thrive the most, and working one-on-one and physically being present. That was such a struggle for me, and I would have long conversations with my wife of, I'm just not doing my job and it's wrecking me. And that was such just an emotional year for me, because it was taking a toll on my mental health, and it was taking a toll just how I felt as an educator. And then when we got the green light to open back up, I mean, it was full steam ahead and trying to make sure that we don't take this time for granted within the classroom. We only have a certain amount of days with the kids, and so we want to make sure that we're crafting the right learning experiences and making sure that we use that time wisely, because time is precious. I love when I get to see those moments where they make those connections. I can be silly, I can be goofy, and we can talk about these really in-depth things that they are trying to wrap their head around. And when a kid can make those connections and we see it happen, that, oh, yeah, that is the best part of my job. I know that my hard work is paying off. It may take some time. I'm gonna have to be patient with it. And I was really just crawling in my skin, like they're not getting it, but then it finally, towards the end, it all clicked together and we got to see it work. And so that was just such a good moment to see.
I get a lot of like, I hate math. I really like you, but I hate math. I got a degree in math and I was like, hey, what am I gonna do with that? And I come from a background of lots of teachers and, well, I'm gonna teach. So I got my master's in teaching and started teaching 13 years ago now. More so than like the reason that I became a teacher is the reason that I stay a teacher, because I just love it. I love the kids. I love that every day is new and every hour is new, because I have different kids every hour coming through, and I'll do something different in each hour, or the kids' personalities are just different. And so I get to feed off of that and play with that and find ways that I get to interact with them and learn their stories. I love it because of them. I still feel like a first-year teacher. Like, I feel like new at it still every day. The day-to-day changes and the class-to-class changes, that like, it's always a new experience. Like, I never get bored because everything's new every hour. So it's kind of like it's the first time I've done it, even though it's the 13th time I've done it, times 6 classes. So every once in a while, throughout, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm going to scrap that lesson, even though I've done it 7 times, because I want to find something new. I want to change it up. I want something to be a little bit different. How can I get the kids more excited, get them more engaged? New technologies come out, so it's an ebb and flow, always changing, always different. I think my biggest thing is that every kid can learn, like no matter where they come from, even just that particular day, like they all have the capacity to learn something. And it might be math. It might just be learning that there's somebody out there that loves them and cares about them and wants to be around them. Like, I want each of those kids in my classroom, and hopefully they get a little inkling of math in there too, or some problem solving skills, the ability to use a calculator, like, because we have to teach that stuff too. They don't know how to find a square root on a calculator. God's provided all these opportunities for me to step into Nixa Junior High and to step into a leadership role here. And he's just been with me the whole way. And it's been really cool just to see how he's changed me and used me and been a real part of my career and my life.
Grew up in Arkansas, Northeast Arkansas. Ooh, go Hurricanes. I really wanted to be a nurse, and then I realized somewhere in my life that I don't like the sight of blood. It's a thing. So I can't be a nurse. You know, I had a teacher in high school. I actually had 2 in high school that really changed the course for me. I kind of just floated through school, you know, just kind of day by day. And, you know, I didn't really have an interest. And then, you know, in high school, I was like, wow, this is kind of amazing. And that's where I really picked up the passion for it. And it's kind of my thing now. And I'm so thankful for those teachers, because if I didn't have those teachers, who knows what I would be doing right now. I think back to like when I was in school, I struggled with school a lot, and I was the class clown. You know, I always like wanted to make everyone laugh so that they would focus on me being funny and not me focusing on that I didn't know this addition problem, or that, you know, this problem, could figure it out. And so I think it's a coping mechanism that's stuck with me for life. I always think about like my personal life. You know, when I come in these doors, like I leave my personal life at home. But I know that with kids, you can't separate that. And kids are stressed about things and life, and sometimes they get overwhelmed in the classroom. And so just being able to stop and laugh just resets the brain. Freshman 101 going into education classes is be the teacher that you needed when you were a kid. And that's really where my passion comes from, because I was the kid that always questioned, well, why do I need this? Like, I'm not going to need this in the real world. And now I apply that every day, like authentic learning and the humor, of course, because you always have to laugh. To me, building a relationship with students is the most important. I firmly believe I have to earn the right to be heard by these students. And if I just walk in and say, okay, let's go day one, and I don't have a connection, they're not going to listen to me because they don't care. They don't have that relationship and that rapport. And I know that every day I have to give 110% because that's what the students deserve. And so for me, that's my goal. You know, nothing for granted. Every day I have to show up.